All right, it's finally here. After all the anticipation, after all of the dealings with the saviors, after all of the build-up, we finally get to meet Negan. And someone gets up close and personal with Lucille. It's the season 6 finale of The Walking Dead, episode 16, Last Day on Earth. Alright, spoilers ahead, just so you've been warned. Okay, we've got a lot of things to cover today, but we're actually going to do a little sidestep first off and talk about Morgan and Carol real quick. Now this was kind of a quieter part of the episode in a way, really kind of very straightforward. Basically we have Morgan out tracking and hunting down Carol, who is trying to get away from everybody, from the group, from life, from everything she's done. She's in a very escapist mode right now. And really, ultimately, whatever else happens in this little section of the episode, it comes down to really 2 points. And that is Morgan's point to Carol about needing people to survive. That at this point, it is the people around you that life is all about. And without them, you're not going to be able to live long. And this shows out very quickly when, Carol is a very efficient, not only just killer of people, but killer of zombies. Everybody in the group really is. But this starts to show out that what happens when you are alone. One, you can be easily overwhelmed. If you're by yourself, you're caught in a group of walkers, you can easily be overwhelmed when you're all by yourself. And once you are injured, it puts you in a very difficult position, which is where Morgan eventually runs into Carol. She's been wounded, fighting off some of the walkers, and of course the dealings with the saviors. And this has just gotten to her. She's got a wound in her side. She's not able to really pull forward by herself. And after the argument with Morgan and she escapes, the one walker comes after her and she almost gets eaten. She almost gets bit because of course this walker's falling apart and the hair thing, really gross but nicely done. And then the savior of course eventually catches up to her. And a very interesting moment, obviously, Carol at this point really praying for death. Death is the end. It is the release for her. She's not suicidal necessarily, but she doesn't really care about trying so much anymore on the effort to stay alive. And again, when you are by yourself, you are pretty much at the mercy of the other person. When you are by yourself, you are wounded, someone can get the drop on you, and that's pretty much all she wrote. And again, an interesting little point with Carol there, just kind of laughing. I mean, once the savior shoots her, and her kind of laugh is like, hey, that's it. For her, this is kind of a release. And you really see that as I have nothing else to worry about. I'm going to die. I don't have to kill anymore. I don't have to make choices. I don't have to make sacrifices. This conflict that's going on is finally at an end. Though, of course, as the Savior points out, it's not just about dying. It can be a long road, long, painful road to dying. And when he walks away, there is, I think, the very real possibility in Carol's mind is that if he walks away, she might survive, she might recover. That pain will return, those conflicts will return, which is why she taunts and goads him into coming back. Which, of course, then leads into the other topic here. One, you need people to survive. Two, if you're going to survive, if you have people you care around you, you are going to kill. There is no way around that, and Morgan really faces that at this point, kind of crossing the line that he didn't want to. Savior's going to kill Carol. Morgan's not going to allow that to happen. The only choice that he has is he has to kill the Savior. This is the first person that he has killed, in quite some time. So this is going to end up having some fallout for him. But it really puts up the point. When you care about somebody, that's what the world is. The world has fallen back into a point of animalistic survival. It is all about survival. It is kill or be killed. Everyone else there wants what you have and is willing to kill to do it. It's just the way the world is. So unless you are willing to make those choices yourself, you have to be alone. If you're alone, you're going to die. if you're going to be with a group, you can survive, but that also means that you're going to have to kill, and those moral choices are going to affect us, or affect Morgan really, going on, and it's something that Carol's going to have to finish through. I think Morgan is right, as once she finishes through this transition, through this conflict within her, she's going to end up being a stronger person for it. But it is a very tough, killing is not a good thing. I mean, it wears on everyone after a while. That's how we've seen what's happened with Carol, and now Morgan's having to dive back into it. But you have the choice. If there are people you care about, you're going to have to defend them, and this world is going to insist that you defend them on the most extreme point valuable. Now, of course, after this, we get to run into, well, the guy whose horse Morgan had found, which is beautiful. I love that. Oh, quick little note, though. In the zombie apocalypse, if you do happen to find a horse, try and stay off the road. Horses and the hooves and the shoes aren't really designed for concrete and asphalt. They can walk, but they can't really move well. It's very easy to slip. So if you do have walkers that pop out or any conflict, if the horse reacts, rears up, turns any type of quick movement, very easily to slip on concrete. And if you are on top of the horse, that means the horse is probably going to fall on you. I have had friends that have had this happen. So this is just a little FYI. There were beautiful shots of Morgan riding down the center of the street, but all I'm thinking of, man, if walkers come out and that horse reacts, they're both going down, and that's going to be a bad injury. So just FYI. But again, we run into the owner of the horse, and I love how Morgan just introduces himself. Hi, I found your horse. Because, of course, we saw him last episode running out of the barn, and Rick shot at him when he was just saying, I'm looking for my horse. So this is him, and this is our introduction to the Kingdom, another big group that is out there that we're going to figure out more next season. So we'll just wait until that happens. But that's a nice way to save Carol, get Morgan and Carol back together, and reintroduce a new group, because that's a lot of what we're dealing with this back half of the season, is understanding that there is that larger world out there. Before it was just individual salvation, saving yourself, saving the group, surviving. Now enough time has gone where groups and institutions and areas, communities have formed around, and now it's not so much individual against individual, but community against community. So that's going to be a lot of, I think, what we're dealing with, obviously, going into next season. All right, but of course the meat and potatoes of this is Rick and the group's attempt to get to Hilltop Community, to get to the doctor there, because things have gone very bad for Maggie, and since Denise is dead, that's the only doctor that they have access to. And he's an OBGYN, so very popular, with kids. And we know at the end of this, I mean, it's been talked about, it's not unexpected that we're going to meet Negan, and someone is going to die. And they've really done a good job through this episode, one, of bringing Rick and the group down. As they leave Alexandria, they're on top of the world. Hey, we've got all our guys, we're all set, we're going to get to Hilltop, we're going to save Maggie, and everything's going to be fine. We can deal with whatever it is that we run into. And step by step by step, they are figuring out that they are not nearly on top of the food chain as they expect to do. If you're going to leave Alexandria, why did you bring everybody with you? I mean, you got the Alexandrians back, you got Father Gabriel, and you got Tobin, and you got Spencer. I mean, okay, they're back at Alexandria. But you have brought, first of all, you already had, Glenn, Michonne, Daryl, and Rosita are gone. You got Moral, you got Carol and Morgan off doing their own thing. So of the core of the rest of your top fighters, you put them all in the RV? I know they're trying to I know this is a move for dramatic, but it was just tactically very unsound. Yes, you need fighters there. Yes, if you run into everyone, but you've got the best of everyone, either in the RV or already outside of Alexandria. So not a lot of confidence. Yes, they've got walls. Yes, they got watchtowers. And I did love Father Gabriel, who has really stepped up, and he's got the plan for it. So, when he asked Risk, are you comfortable leaving me in charge of Alexandria? With what he threw down, yeah. I'm suddenly feeling a lot more confident, too. But they do a good job not only of constantly bringing them down with running into the larger and larger groups. I mean, there's just a small handful of the first group they run into. You know, next group they run into is a little bit bigger. Next one's a little bigger. Then they got the flaming logs. And of course, you know, it gets bigger and bigger. Each step by step, they're working that psychological, you know, Rick, you are not on top of the food chain, as I said. But they also do a really good job of setting up all of your classic horror tropes of who is going to die. I mean, throughout the episode, first you've got Maggie that's injured, you know, losing the baby, possibly, you know, all of those things, and that, you know, conversations that Rick and everyone's having with her. Oh, it's going to be okay. We're going to save you. It's all going to be fine. There's one trope. We've got Abraham and Sasha are talking about, hey, maybe we could have a baby. Maybe we could move on to that. Maybe we could. They're finding happiness. They're looking for the future. Next horror trope checked off. You've got Abraham and Eugene's discussion, you know, where he acknowledges Eugene, yes, you're a warrior. And Eugene acknowledges back to Abraham, yes, we're partners. And they have that shake of hands, you know, and you know, and I love that little bit with Eugene also, who when he lets everybody out of the RV, he knows that he's probably going to die, but he's going to go out like a hero. He's going out like a boss, which in his mind is the way to do it. And he passes on the instructions for making the bullets and where the forge is and everything. You've got Carl dealing with Enid back at town, locks her in the closet there, and she brings the point, what am I going to do if you don't come back? You've got their little relationship building. So everybody on each step, really they do an excellent job of setting up the possibilities that each one of these people are going to be by. I said each of these tropes are organized and set up so that everyone is getting that build up, everybody is getting those positionings, those saying goodbyes that everybody could go. So when we finally do meet Negan, oh, Jeffrey D. Morgan, man, you are so awesome and scary and cool. Just an incredible job right there. We really have, again, each of those tropes set up and ticked off where everybody has kind of hit those points where you could say goodbye. And then we have that final cornering and introduction of Negan. Everybody on their knees, Rick just buckling down. Again, he was the guy that was on top. He is in charge. He is the one making all of the decisions, and each one sees him at a worse and worse position. So really, as they set everything up, they really perfectly, I think, set up the emotion, the intensity, that feeling of powerlessness. So when you're finally troping through the woods and you hear those whistles and then everybody pops, it's like you are doomed. Well, not all of you. One of you was doomed. And from a character standpoint, again, from Negan, from the Savior's point of view, as we saw a couple episodes back when the one girl told Maggie, you know, you are the bad guys. If we can look at it from the Saviors, from their point of view, is that you have this group that comes in, kills a bunch of your people in their sleep. You send some more people out to stop them. It kills all of them, and you finally capture them. In some ways, they would have the right to execute everybody. But they're not. They want them to work for you, but they have to even things out. So they're going to kill one person. Brutally and in front of everybody else, but that is their statement. And from a point of view, you could justify that. You can see where he's coming from. Is I want to organize things, I want people working for me, but I've got to lay down the law. So again, we don't like it because it's against our group, but if we had switched positions and been following Negan this time, we might be able to find a justification for his actions, which, again, is really the best thing for any villain, antagonist, shall we say, is they are the hero of their own stories. So if everything has a logic to where they're working, even if it's twisted logic or something we don't agree with, I think is a really good position to come from. And of course, there's once we got Rick and the group down, then they bring out everybody else, and so we've got the complete lineup of all your main characters and some of the background people. I mean, you've got the group right there. So who is going to die? I think they threw out an excellent point of view, as it could be anyone. And the whole evil psychological bit of, well, I'm going to pick you or you or you. I mean, for a moment, I actually thought that he was going to ask Rick to choose, which would have been really, really bad. But what he ends up doing is just doing the eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Now, I know there's a lot of anger, frustration, conflict out there with the way that the episode ended, but I think they actually ended it perfectly. The fact that we don't know who dies, it keeps an anticipation level up. And I think Scott Gimple described it really well as the reasons why they did this is because once Negan has killed someone, that is the defining line. That is the before Negan and the after Negan. Because until somebody dies, it is all just that buildup. And once that does, that satisfies Negan's requirements, it satisfies his wants, has the requisite effect on the group, and that they can now move forward. So you've got really, this is the defining line for it. So setting up the finale where he does kill someone, but we don't know who it is, one, just from a writing standpoint, from an anticipation standpoint, that gives us the whole summer to question what it is that happens. It also saves the crew in the senses they don't have to hold any secrets. I mean, you realize how much they've got to hold secrets for months until episodes come out. But now, they don't know. Not even the people who work on the show. I mean, writers probably know, and Gimple and everyone. But the cast, the main people on the show, they don't know. So one, you can't have, nobody's going to be able to spill the beans because there are no beans yet to spill. But for us, from the audience, it gives us in that zone. We get something to talk about all summer long until the show comes back. And we can weigh out all of the possibilities. So I really actually like to do it, and I like the camera work where they had focused right up and it was a point, a POV shot when he finally says, "It's you," and then whacks, and we see the camera move around. I just thought there was a great way of bringing that up, hitting that line. Because the other thing is if they did kill someone, would it be anticlimactic when they started things off next season? Would it be kind of anticlimactic because then it's just everything is done? Where would they end it? Would they just beat him up and then you just have the group staring down at the body and then cut to black then? Would people feel that was a letdown? Would they? So I think from a creative, from writing standpoint, I really support the way that they had taken care of that. Which of course is going to beg the really big question of who was it that he killed? I've looked over the camera a few times. There was some discussions of, maybe there are some hints in with that. I don't really know. It could be almost anyone. The one things we do is we know that it's not Carl and we know that it's not Rick. Why? Because when he says, you and goes to hit, he says, keep the boy down or we'll pull out his other eye and give it to the dad. So with that discussion, we know that it's not Carl and Rick. And of course it can't be because those are really the main characters. They are the focus of The Walking Dead. Everybody else is kind of secondary. You lose Carl, you lose Rick. That's kind of the end of the show. But again, who could it be? Daryl's wounded. Killing a wounded guy, not so impressive. Michonne would be a harsh one to do because she has found a little peace with Rick. And so, and we had that moment when Rick finds that piece of Michonne on the walker chain, which is that beautiful setup walker chain that was awesome. But you can see the effect on him like, oh no, not again. So that's a good possibility. But kind of for an equal reason with Daryl is Daryl and Michonne are two of the biggest draws of the show for characters. I think killing them off could potentially damage the viewership, and so not really a good choice from a network standpoint to do. And also, again, Daryl is wounded, Michonne's awesome swordswoman, we shouldn't do that. You could do side characters like Rosita. Maybe she's finished her arc, but would it be as big of an impact if she dies? Not sure how Negan's approaching things. Man, woman. He does say, doing it like a champ. That could really apply either way, male or female. I think my biggest guess right now would be Abraham. One, in the comics, Abraham dies where Denise just did. He's the one that gets shot in the eye with the arrow from Dwight. So in the comics, he's already dead, and this would just sort of extend things again. And he had those couple of big trope moments with Sasha talking about the kid, and with Eugene, you know, acknowledging his movement forward and that he's a survivor. In some ways, he's kind of finished an arc too. He's also a big, strong guy, so from a visual standpoint, that would be an effective kill. I'm going to take out one of your huge guys and lay that out. So for me, I think Abraham's kind of the number one, most likely. Just looking at everyone else, I mean, Glenn, yes, this is where Glenn dies. And that is possible, especially because he jumped out, you know, when he threatened Maggie. Glenn is also a very big draw from viewership. Not really sure if they're going to do that. They're not going to kill Maggie. Maggie looks like she's already dying anyway. That's not a big impact. You got to figure he's going to take out somebody that's going to have an impact on the group to show them, do not mess with me. Which is why I'm at the moment putting Abraham up as the most likely candidate. Though I love it. I mean, I love everybody on the show. It's going to be very sad when we find out who it is that does die. But just from a predictive standpoint, that's where I'm coming from. Anyway, I think that is it. I think I covered everything. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you enjoyed the whole season. I know as Walking Dead goes, it tends to have, you know, great episodes and some good episodes and then a couple episodes. And I know there's some, you know, again, argument of, wow, why did you leave us with this big cliffhanger? That's what shows do. And as cliffhangers go, I think, like I said, this was a great point to do it. It brings up the anticipation, it makes us fearful of Negan, and then we get to hold on through the summer with the lack of knowledge of who has died. I mean, and that also means that every cast member is coming back next year. Maybe one's only has a day shoot. I feel really sorry for them because they're not going to know for quite some time. Anyway, and that is it for us. That is the end of season 6. Next week, we kind of return to where I began all of this stuff, and that is with the beginning of season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead. It's going to move right on into next week. We're dealing with zombies on the water, underwater zombies, which is something that we haven't had to deal with. Plus, again, this is the beginning of the outbreak, so we've got fresher zombies, we've got more activity going on, a lot more people, a lot more panic. So I'm really hoping that they take this into the next level, really kind of build this up. I was a little disappointed with the first season. I just didn't think they showed the birth of the apocalypse as much as I was hoping to see. So maybe with this, it's something that we can continue on and they can actually build up on that. They've got a lot of options. They've got a lot of things that we haven't been able to see in The Walking Dead, which is all in Georgia. This being on the water and those types of stuff, it brings up a whole bunch of different story tropes. Also, you have a group that is in a small, confined space having to deal with stuff, so you got a lot more personality conflicts that are going to come up out of that. So hopefully they will make the most out of this, and we will find that back next week. Come on back for Fear the Walking Dead. Please press like if you did enjoy this review. Feel free to comment in the section below. I respond to everything. I've had some really nice conversations with quite a few of you, and I really get a kick out of it, so please keep that going. Subscribe. Come back every week. Again, we're going to be doing all of Fear the Walking Dead. We're still doing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I've decided, yes, I'm going to do Game of Thrones. So that's in a couple of weeks. That is the 24th, about 3 weeks from now. So we'll be doing Season 6 of Game of Thrones right here. So come back, check all that out. Plus, as the superhero movies come out further on, we're going to be reviewing all those. So a lot of activity happening. Hope you come back and check it all out. And that is it. I am D, and I am out of here. You guys take it easy. Have a good one. Bye-bye.